Welcome, fam. What is going on? We are back again. Going on. There we go. Fam, is 8 hours of sleep actually the right number? If you've been chasing 8 hours like a rule, hitting it and still waking up tired, the number was never the thing you were supposed to be measuring. This week on Wellness Wednesday, I'm taking apart the 8 hour sleep rule, where it came from, why sleep quality beats sleep quantity, and what your body is actually asking for when you wake up exhausted after a full night. If you've been told you need 8 hours of sleep and it hasn't fixed anything, stay through this episode with me. Everything is going to make sense very soon. As always, we're going to bring our favorite person right here. So let's meet someone. We're going to meet Emily. She's 38, works a desk job, 2 kids. She's not lazy and she's not out of shape. She's just tired. So let's walk through her Tuesday and see what that looks like. What does Emily's Tuesday look like? Okay, so alarm at 6:15. First thing she touches is a phone. And before her feet hit the floor, she has already read a work message and felt something about it. 6:15 in the morning, and the day has started without her permission. She gets the kids coffee, no breakfast, or breakfast standing, which is not really breakfast. Drives to work with the podcast on because silence in the car feels like a waste of a good 20 minutes. And 8:30 to 12:30 sits, screen, meetings. Between the meetings, she checks her phone because that is what the gap is for now. Lunch at a desk while she scrolls 25 minutes. Her body did not leave the building and her mind did not leave the screen. 1 to 5:30 sits, screen, more meetings. Around 3, she hits a wall. So she gets a coffee. That coffee is important. Hold that. Hold that thought. Drives home with the podcast on, kids, dinner, homework. Same routine. Something breaks or somebody cries. 9 o'clock, she finally sits down. And this is a moment she has been waiting for all day. Her reward. Her reward is Netflix with a phone in a hand. 2 screens. She could not tell you what happened in the last 25 minutes of the show. 10:40. 10:45, gets in bed, scrolls a bit more because that is the only time in the day that is hers. Lights out around 11:15. Actually asleep maybe midnight. Alarm at 6:15. Now count it with me. From 6:15 in the morning to 11:15 at night. How many minutes did Emily spend with no input going into her brain? Not relaxing, not entertained, but the actual quiet, no screen, no voice, no podcast music, nothing coming in, no input at all. The shower, maybe if she wasn't playing music, and maybe if she didn't bring in a phone, and I don't know, YouTube, maybe. 16 and a half waking hours. 16. Almost none of it was quiet. And then she gets into bed and asks 8 hours to fix it, all of it. Last week, I told you that there was a number I was going to tell you that you had to hold on to. And that number was not 8. This is a number. It is 16. If you haven't watched the last episode, go back and watch the last episode. I believe that was episode 67. And that is why you still feel tired even after 8 hours of sleep. So go watch that episode. And you will understand why it's never about the number 8. It's about the other number. The 16 is the real number. So you're asking 8 hours to undo 16. That is essentially what you're doing. And here is the way I want you to think about sleep moving forward. And I think this is the whole episode, the past 2 episodes, or the last episode and this episode. So these 2 episodes. Because sleep is not a charger. We talk about it like we're supposed to plug in, fill up, wake up at 100%. That's not what sleep is about. We have to understand this clearly and straightforwardly. Sleep is a cleanup crew with a fixed shift. They show up at midnight, they work until 6:30, and then they leave, whether they're finished or not. If you make a normal amount of mess in a day, the crew handles it. You wake up in a clean house, it's clean. But if you make 16 hours of a mess with no breaks, no quiet, coffee at 3, and a phone in your face until 11, the crew cannot finish. They do what they can and they clock out. You wake up in a house that is still dirty. And then you get angry at the crew. You say, the sleep did not work. Something is broken. The sleep worked. You handed them a job that was too big. Now, I told you that I would come back to my own personal story. And this is something that I want you to understand because I'm talking about this as someone who's also had to figure out how to sleep properly and how to recharge and how to manage my energy. And when I speak energy, I'm talking about your mental capacity, your physical capacity, the actual energy, resting, getting energy, physical energy. Now, I told you, I told you this in the last episode because for a long time, I thought my problem was that I needed more sleep. That was my whole plan. Get to bed earlier, fix the night. That was not the problem, though. My problem was that I had 16 hours a day with the switch on and no off position anywhere in it. Work did not end at 5:30. It ended whenever the last email got answered. And the second work ended, my personal life started on the same device, in the same posture, with the same bright light, the blue light, the 6 inches of a screen straight in my face. There was no gap between them. There was never a moment in my day where nothing was coming in. So by the time I lay down, I was not winding down. I was slamming on the brakes at full speed and wondering why the car did not stop instantly. And the coffee in the morning was not a habit, it was a bill. I was always borrowing energy I had not earned back yet, and I was paying interest on it every single day. This is the part I want you to hear. I did not fix that by sleeping more. I fixed it by changing the 16 hours, the number 16. So, fam, be honest with me. How many minutes of actual quiet did you get yesterday? No screens, no music, not even a podcast, nothing, silence, nothing at all. Type in the chat if you're listening, if you're watching, wherever you're watching from or listening, just type in the chat or in the comments. Just let me know. Do you actually pay attention to that? Do you notice when you're actually quiet and nothing is happening? So, how many minutes? Just type a number. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm not going to judge you. It's just what it is. Awareness is the first step. Awareness. You have to understand. Ask yourself the right question. Ask yourself the right questions and get the right answer. I mean, it's not the right. Any answer is right. There's no right or wrong. But the correct answer, the honest answer, that is what you need. Honest answer. So, as I said, I would come back to this, and here it is. We're going to talk about the 3 things you do to rest, or at least you think that you're resting. And 2 of them are fine, but one of them is quietly making tomorrow worse. And I'm going to show you exactly which one. So, scrolling in bed is how I wind down. A lot of you do this. I used to do this. So, number one, we're going to look at this. So, television. Watching a show at the end of the day is genuinely fine. I do it. Your body is still, the story is doing the work, and you're not making decisions. It is a low demand activity. No problem here. As long as it is one screen and it ends at a reasonable hour. Because I find that sometimes you're watching a show on TV, but you're also on your phone. You're doing 2 things at once, looking at 2 screens, distracting yourself from the actual show. Because you're hearing something, you're watching, you're hearing something, you're watching, you pause a reel and you go back to the reel or short, whatever platform that you're on, you're sending DMs and you're still watching a show. And that, my friends, is where the problem starts. But anyway, we're going to move on to number 2. Sleeping in on a Sunday. Also fine, also limited. This is one everybody leans on, and I need to be straight with you about what the research actually says. Sleeping, sleeping in does not help you feel better. What is genuinely debated, I mean debated among serious people, is how much of the week's damage that actually repays. Some studies can say you recover a good chunk. Others suggest a few extra hours on Saturday. And I mean, others suggest that a few extra hours on Saturday does not undo 5 nights of short sleep, and that the swing in your wake up times creates its own problem because it moves your body clock like you flew to another country and back every weekend, which is probably fair to say. So sleeping in is a patch, right? It's not a fix. So you don't want to build your week based on that and around sleeping in. And personally, what I've noticed and figured out is when I do sleep in, it does help my body recover. But I also still recognize that my sleep clock or circadian rhythm, I have to fix it. So I go outside, regardless of what time I wake up. If I wake up late, I have to go outside. I have to move and actually be in the sun. And then when the sun's going down, I go outside, take a late walk, go outside, so that your body signal is also firing to allow you to start releasing melatonin because your body has hormones that actually allow you to sleep, right? Because you got cortisol. We talked about the stress hormone. So you've got cortisol, which helps you wake up and keeps you up. If you're in a stress, I mean, yes, cortisol increases when you're stressed just because you're high alert. So your stress hormone goes up in the morning, and it's what allows you to stay alert throughout the day. And in the morning, when you get up, you get a lot of sunlight, you get a lot of light, it keeps your cortisol up. But when you get into a place where there is dim light or the sun's going down, naturally your body recognizes that, okay, it's time to shut down because we're in that rhythm with nature, with the sun itself. So it's important to recognize that and figure out ways that can help you recover the best. And then at night, your sleep time, when you get to bed, it's easier as well for you to sleep on time. And because you're also moving your body, you're also doing some physical exercise. So it'll be easier for you to like take a walk, whether it's like 5, 10 Ks where you're walking and then come back. And then you'll be able to sleep easy. So a little bit of sunset, walk in the dark, watch the sunset, then get back and just sleep. So that usually works well. Number three, your phone in your bed. This number three. And this is the one. This is the one. Here's why it feels like rest. It takes almost no effort. You're lying down, your thumb is moving. Physically, you're doing nothing at all. So your body, excuse me, hmm, excuse me. So your body files it under rest. That's what it does. It recognizes this as rest. But look at what is actually going into your head in 10 minutes of that. A funny clip, one, got a news story that makes you angry, someone's holiday photos, a message you know that you now have to answer, maybe something sad, rage bait, another funny clip. You just fed your brain 20 completely unrelated emotional events in 10 minutes at the exact moment. You're asking it to slow down and shut off. Physically, it is rest. Mentally, it is the busiest 10 minutes of your entire day. And here's the part that really has to be sat with for a moment. And I want you to sit with this. It is not mainly about the blue light itself. That is where everyone goes. And honestly, the light is probably the smaller piece after hear what I'm going to say, because glasses, even if I'm wearing these glasses, they're not going to save me. The problem is what you're actually putting in, not what color it is. Obviously, the light amplifies it. And now I'm not going to stand here and pretend I never touch my phone at night. That is not honest. And you probably wouldn't believe me anyway. But I will tell you what I actually do. And I do this one on purpose. My phone now charges across the room, not next to the bed, across the room. I got one of those chargers, those long chargers, the 6 foot chargers. So it's like all the way across the room. So not next to my bed, but across the room because the distance is the decision. If it's an arm's reach, I do not get to make the choice. I just reach. And sometimes, as best as I can, I think I even sometimes avoid setting an alarm sometimes because sometimes I just wake up with the sun as well. When the sun comes up, like I'm waking up most times, and I just wake up usually about the same time. So unless if I'm like extremely tired, I've done something extra, then I need that extra time for my body to recover. But anyway, so this sounds like a small thing, but it is not a small thing. And it's important to recognize that this is not a small thing because this is going to help someone else. So, fam, where is your phone right now when you sleep? Where do you currently put it? Are you putting it on next to your bed, nightstand, or in another room? Just let me know where you're putting it. Wherever you put it is fine. So just let me know what you're doing. Oh, so there we go. We cover this. I like talking about this stuff. Okay. So we go. So right now, what we're going to do is check in. We've got 4 checkpoints that you have. So if if the problem that we've already established is the 16 hours, the fix has to live in the 16 hours, not in another plan or another system or another tracker app. You don't need one, and I'm not going to give you one. You have 4 moments in a day that you already have. We're just going to use them. We're not adding more things. And here they are. So we've got light, move, land, stop. That is the whole thing. 4 words. If you remember nothing else from this episode, you remember those 4 words. Light, move, land, stop. Now let's see what those actually are and expand on those. So checkpoint number 1, light. First hour of your day. Get real outdoor light on your face and move your body a little while, for a little while you do that. 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you can. And Here is why, in plain terms, your body has a clock in it. That clock does not read numbers, it reads light. Bright light early in the morning tells your body that it is the start. So you get sleepy roughly. So you get sleepy roughly this many hours from now. So it's like signaling it. Say we're starting the day. You have to feel sleepy at this point in time. So dim light all morning will tell your body nothing. So it guesses. And it usually guesses late, usually. It's wrong. Because sometimes it's why blackout curtains work so well because they shut off the light. And if someone is in a house and there's curtains and no light coming in, the energy that they have will be down. They'll feel like sleeping all the time because the place is just dark. So your body is confused. Your body signal is confused. Like, okay, so when do we actually wake up? When do we move? So you might feel like you want to do stuff, like mentally, like, okay, this is the time you're looking at it, but you're not telling your body what time it is and what it should do. Because there's a part where you can look at the clock, say, okay, this is the time. I should be doing this. But you're like, I don't feel motivated to do this thing. It's because you're not getting light. You're not telling your body that, hey, it's time to wake up. It's time to go. This is what you need to keep in mind because this is a one this is one of the better supported things in all sleep science. And here is the strange part of it. The thing that helps you sleep tonight happens at 7 in the morning. You do not need a walk around the block. Although a walk around the block would be great if you have to get to work and stuff. Open the door and just stand outside with a coffee. Take the bins out slowly, sit by the window with it wide open, though the real outside beats a window every time. Take off your shoes, just stand outside, just go outside. Touch grass outside. Go touch a tree. So even a gray, cloudy, miserable morning outside is far brighter than your kitchen with the natural light on those cloudy days. It's still important to do, even though there's no sun. And the second half of this one, do not let the first thing that touches your brain be your phone. So do not let the first thing be your phone that touches your brain. If your first input of the day is a work message, you did not wake up. You got deployed. You got launched right away the moment you opened that message. And now we're going to look at checkpoint number 2. Move. Middle of the day, break the sitting. Not a workout. I'm not telling you to go to the gym at lunch. If you can, that's great. But that is not this. That is not what I'm talking about here. I mean, stand up and move for a few minutes, a few times across the workday. Walk to get water, walk to the washroom, take a call standing, go up a flight of stairs for no reason, walk around the building, walk around your house, roll your shoulders back, open your chest, stretch, and do the shape of your chair that has been folding you into that you've been folding into for 4 hours. Two things happen here. Your body, it's a small, real signal that it exists and it gets used. And your head gets a gap, just a brief moment of just connecting with your body. Watch what most people do with a 5 minute gap at work. They pick up the phone. So the body finally stops and the brain gets handed more input. That itself is not a break. You're just changing and trading a bigger screen for a smaller screen. Walk without your phone. 5 minutes. I know how that sounds. Just try it once. Notice how uncomfortable it feels at first, for the first 2 minutes. That discomfort that you feel is a data point, it's information. And your afternoon coffee, remember Emily's 3 o'clock? Here is what we know about caffeine. It has a half life of about 5 to 6 hours in most people. And half life means about 6 hours later, half of it is still in you, still working. Coffee at 3, half of it is still in your system at 9. A good chunk is still there at midnight. You will still fall asleep. That is what fools people. Some people say, I drink coffee at night and I fall asleep. Caffeine does not always stop you from falling asleep. Because I know even sometimes like when I've been like sleep deprived and I've had coffee, it didn't help. It made it worse. I slept. Like it was just confusing my brain. So what evidence suggests is that it takes a bite out of your sleep, even when you sleep straight through. So you sleep 8 hours and wake up tired, and you have no idea why, because you did not feel tired, because you do not feel wired. You just quietly got a lower grade of sleep. That happens quite often. So I personally cut coffee after about 2 in the afternoon. Actually, maybe now I've starting now. I mean, maybe I've had what I've done. I'll come back to it. It's like maybe I have the two coffees back to back in the morning that I'll have, not immediately, but back to back. Maybe one, drink water. First of all, drink water before you start drinking coffee. Make sure you drink a lot of water right at the beginning. That's what I do. Drink water. Once you drink water, it also helps you with flushing out the coffee, because when you drink coffee, you use the washroom a lot as you drink water. So you flush it, flush it, flush it. So I drink water. And then I also have breakfast with coffee. That's the same thing. And then that's it. And then the rest of the day, it's just water, 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 water. And then I'll stop drinking water maybe uh, early evening, late afternoon. And I stop drinking water so that I don't have to keep waking up at night. And that allows me to sleep continuously throughout the night. So I do this not as a rule for you. This is what works for my body. Your your line might be maybe at noon. It might be 1, might be 10. But if you're drinking coffee at 5, we found something. We know something. And with that information, you can test and see how your sleep is affected by drinking coffee and stopping to drink coffee earlier. So at least it's something. That's something that you can play with. Checkpoint number 3, land. Planes do not drop out of the sky onto the runway. So checkpoint number 3 is land. Evening is the big one for most of you. Planes, as I said, do not drop out of the sky onto the runway. They come down slowly because over a long distance, and by the time that the wheels touch the tarmac, you're already nearly down. You're trying to go from full speed to a sleep in about 4 minutes, and then calling yourself a bad sleeper when it does not work. Give yourself 20 minutes of coming down, 30, not 2 hours, half an hour. So, what does this mean? So, no work, no phone, low light if you can manage it. Read something on paper, real paper. Stretch on the floor, get a mat, stretch. Tidy the kitchen in silence. Pray. Sit with your husband or wife and actually talk about the day. Or with your kids, play with your kids. Take a hot shower. And what this doesn't include is your inbox or your group chat, your feed, and the news. None of it. No input. No electronic input. And here is the hard part. And I'm going to say the quiet thing out loud. For a lot of you, the phone at night is not really about the phone. It is the only part of the day that belongs to you. Everybody else got a piece of you today. Your boss got a piece, your kids got a piece, and that hour at 11 at night is the only thing that is yours. I understand that completely because I've lived it. But look at what you're trading. You're buying 1 hour that feels like yours by paying for it with the whole tomorrow that will not be yours at all. Because tomorrow you'll be too tired to be in any to to be any good to anyone, including yourself. That is a bad trade. And I made that trade for years. Take that hour, genuinely take it, but take it 30 minutes earlier and take it off the screen. Checkpoint number 4. Once a week, one real stop. And here is where I need to be straight with you because everything I have given you so far, you could find on a health blog or someone else's podcast. This one, you probably will not. You cannot pay a week's debt in one night. Everybody wants a magic night of sleep that fixes everything. It does not exist. What exists is a week that does not build the debt in the first place. And this is old. This is not a productivity hack somebody invented in 2019 or 2016, I guess, like when biohacking was going on and blowing up. Rest that depends on a schedule that you take whether or not the work is finished was built into how we're supposed to live from the very beginning. Before there was any burnout to fix, it was not medicine, it was design. And look at how it is described. Not sleep, not stopping. There is a difference between not working and actually stopping. You already know this. You had a Saturday off recently where you did errands, answered a few work emails, cleaned the house, drove the kids around, and went to bed on Sunday feeling like you never had a weekend at all. That was a day off. It was not a stop. The stop means the work is not finished and you put it down anyway. Finished is hard. That is what actually makes it harder. And that is also what makes rest work. One day, or if your life genuinely cannot hold a full day right now, start with 4 hours. Same block every week so your body learns it is coming. Light, move, land, stop. Fam. So back to you. Which one of these four is your weakest one? The one that you're going to start working on today, or at least for the next 3 months, 6 months to build the habit and form a new habit. Because one of the things I want us to do right now is let's go back to Emily. Same job, same kids, same Tuesday. Nothing gets added to a calendar. And so watch what actually changes. 6:15 alarm. Phone stays face down and she does not read the message yet. It will still be there in 45 minutes or in 40 minutes. It has waited all night and it can wait through breakfast. 6:14. She takes a coffee outside and stands there for 5 minutes. That is the whole thing. 5 minutes on the step. Her body clock just got told what time it is. Drive to work, podcast off one way, just quiet. This is going to feel strange for about a week. 10:30, 2 minutes standing, shoulders rolled back, chest open, out of the chair shape. No hunching, no slouching. Straight posture. Boom. Lunch, 25 minutes. Look at me. Now we're going. Lunch, 25 minutes. Same as before. But she eats it away from the screen and then walks for 10 minutes with no phone. Same lunch, different lunch break. 3 o'clock, wall. she's a 3 o'clock goal. She still hits it. Everyone hits it at this point. But this time it is a glass of water and a walk up one flight of stairs instead of a coffee. Because coffee at 3 is a loan she pays back at midnight. 9 o'clock, kids down. She sits. Here is the change. One screen, not two. Phone goes on the counter across the room. 10:30, shows off. 30 minutes of landing. Lights low, hot shower, 10 minutes stretching on the floor, maybe 5 minutes of prayer. And I would say, do not skip that part. That is the most important part of the evening. 11, in bed. Phone is charging across the room, not on the nightstand. She's deeply asleep by 11:20 instead of midnight. Count what she added to a day. Nothing. Not one new thing. She did not wake up earlier. She did not join a gym. She did not download an app. She moved four things she was already doing. Now, let us be honest about what happens next because I'm not going to sell you a fairy tale. Night one, she'll not sleep amazingly. Probably night two either. The body has been running this way for years and it does not turn around in a day. It's a habit that you're forming. So give it 2 weeks. 2 weeks of the same checkpoints most days, not perfectly. If you slip, miss a day, doesn't matter. You come back and do it again. You do it anyway. And this is the part that people miss. Do not judge it by how well you sleep, and judge it by 3 o'clock the next afternoon. That is a real test. Not whether you got 8 hours, whether you can get through your Wednesday afternoon without needing something to prop you up. So, fam, this is what we're going to do. Pick one, not four, one. Which single checkpoint are you running tonight or tomorrow? You can type whatever it is. Let me know in the chat, in the comments, which one. Now, let's change the tone for a few minutes here because I want you to stay with me here because this might be the most important part of this entire episode for a handful of you watching. So everything I have said so far assumes the problem is how you're living. For most tired people, it is. For some of you, it is not. And if I let you walk away thinking better habits will fix everything, I'll be doing you real harm. There are medical reasons a person sleeps a full night and wakes up exhausted. Real ones, common ones. Sleep apnea is a big one. In plain terms, that is when your breathing keeps stopping for short moments while you're asleep. You do not know it is happening. Your body wakes up slightly, maybe dozens of times a night to get you breathing again. And you never remember any of it. So you're in bed for 8 hours and you never get a proper stretch of deep sleep. And here is why I'm naming it. It is common. And a lot of people who have it have no idea. The things that make me say go get checked are loud snoring, someone telling you that you gasp or stop breathing in your sleep, waking up with headaches, or falling asleep during the day in situations where you really should not, like at a red light while driving or operating machinery. Other things that produce this exact same tired feeling are thyroid problems, low iron, some medications you might already be taking, and depression, which very often shows up first as being tired all the time before it shows up as sadness. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to guess what you have, and neither should you. What I'm telling you is this: what the next step is. So what I'm telling you is what the next step is. So here's the line as clearly as I can say it. Run these 4 checkpoints honestly for 2 to 3 weeks. Not perfectly, honestly. There's no right or wrong answer. Do this, right? Cover this. Take a screenshot of this if you have to. If you're just listening, I'm just showing like this sleep apnea on screen here, like sleep apnea. What happens when you have breathing problems or when to go see a doctor. Again, I'm just putting it on screen so that if you need to, just take a screenshot. If you're just listening, I said it. I think you can hear me. But this is what I just said. And yeah, and then also like what I was saying is the thyroid issues, right? If you have low iron and some medications might cause people to have a tough time with sleep and also including depression. And so again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just putting this on screen so that you can see this information and you know exactly what to do. So you can look it up. If you come on YouTube, you can see it. Anyone watching on YouTube can see this information, but this is something for you to just keep in mind as well. I need to drink something. Let's see. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, so we're getting to an hour mark, so we're almost done here. So I want you to run these 4 checkpoints honestly for about 2 to 3 weeks. Not perfectly, honestly. If you're still waking up empty after a full night, that is not a discipline problem. And I'm not the right person for it. Book the appointment. Tell your doctor exactly what you realized watching this video. Tell your doctor I sleep a full night and I wake up exhausted. Just that sentence, just that sentence is enough to start with. And if what you're feeling has gone past tired, if you're in a dark place, if you're having thoughts of perhaps harming yourself, please stop watching this and talk to a professional or a crisis line today, right now. This is not weakness. This is not a lack of faith. Some things need a doctor. And stopping to get one is exactly what a person who is stewarding their body does. There is no shame in any of that. Your body is telling you something. So you have to go and find out. So a couple questions. I'm going to answer a couple questions that I get a lot. I just said chat, but emails. I also get emails, common questions that I get. Is a naps good or bad? So these are some of the common questions. Good, naps are good if they are short and early, 20 to 30 minutes before about 3 in the afternoon. That is the version that helps. It depends as well. Like nothing is cookie cutter. Depends on your schedule. If you work shifts, it might be different because lifestyles are different, jobs are different. But generally, you still want to give yourself time later on in the evening to sleep. So the 90-minute nap at 5:30 at night when you try sleep an hour and so later in the day is the one that actually steals from tonight. Like when the lights are going down, your circadian rhythm, and it knows that, okay, it's time to start sleeping. So if you produce your melatonin too early, then you wake up again, your cortisol goes up. When you wake up, then you might steal from your sleep and you might sleep late and then you might feel groggy on top of it. And then the second thing is my sleep tracker lying to me? So if you use a sleep tracker, is it lying to you? Sort of. What I would what I would say is your watch is reasonably good at knowing whether you were asleep or awake, whether it can accurately tell you how much deep sleep you actually got is genuinely debated. And I'm not confident in those numbers. Depending on which tracking tool that you use, some better ones are out there like Whoop, because I find the Apple Watch itself is, let's say, Apple Watch, maybe Fitbit, but I know like Whoop is an Aura Ring. They seem in the market, they seem to be the better options for tracking sleep. But then again, sometimes with trackers, if there's what I find at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as much if there is an error, because at the end of the day, it's about how you feel after. So if you get an error message, like a number that it tells you consistently, use that for yourself as a baseline for you based on how you feel. Just use that as a marker, as a baseline based on how you feel. But the moment you go and start comparing with someone else, the errors could be different. And you use someone's numbers to compare to your own numbers. That's where some of these trackers just tell you different information and they lose you. But the most important thing is how you feel when you sleep. That's why, you have like sleep score. They track like, okay, how do you feel? How's your mood? How's your energy? All of those things. Those are the things that matter the most. So whatever error that you have from your tracker, whatever you use, even if there's an error, it doesn't matter. That's why sometimes I think the tracker doesn't matter. Just track it, just get the number and then use that as a baseline, because you can work with the baseline even if there's an error, but it's a baseline. And then you can start improving based on that baseline, because even if it tells you like, okay, 60% sleep score, but you had fantastic sleep, right? Which means that if you get 70, 80, like you're a brand new person, right? You're a superhero. So just think about that. And then if your baseline is 60, then yeah, just know that your baseline is 60. And if you fall below 60, then you know that you've got work to do. You've got work to do. And then like when you feel terrible after sleeping, what is that mark? What is that number? When you start getting into like maybe let's say 40%, then you're like, oh, this was terrible sleep. Right. So just get the baseline, pick a tracker that you use. And again, we're not saying do this for forever, but just get the baseline. And eventually it's about knowing your body, what your body responds to, what works for your body. That is the most important part. That is what you need to figure out. So the data point, again, just to tie it back in, is when you see how you feel at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, I think that is going to be the data point that you can use to see if your sleep score actually is accurate. That's all you need. It's like, okay, after working the whole day or studying, 3 p.m. comes, how do I feel? That is probably one of the most important pieces of information. Because in the morning, sometimes it's like, yeah, it's okay to feel like, you woke up, you slept well, but what happens at 3 p.m.? That is a question. So here's the other one. I wake up at 3 every night. And why is it that happens? Right. So if someone wakes up 3 a.m. in the night, every night, that is the question, 3 a.m. in the morning. Waking up briefly in the night is normal. If even, let's say, for example, if you have to use the washroom, and it happens to everyone. What makes it a problem is what you do with that time when you wake up. And actually, some people wake up legit, like they set the alarm to wake up at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. for some. But what you're doing at that time is the issue. So if you wake up, check the time, and start doing math about how many hours are left for you to sleep, get up, you have just started your day at 3 in the morning. Or if you start trying to solve a problem, protect that time. Like it's a skill, it's a talent. It's like you have to train your brain, you have to train yourself, right? So, also worth noting that, looking at your alcohol, because alcohol will also get you to sleep faster and then wreck the back half of your night. Because there is a difference between sleeping sober and sleeping with alcohol in your system. Because when you sleep, the studies that show that when you sleep with alcohol in your system, you're not actually sleeping. You're just detoxifying. That's what the cleanup crew is doing. But your brain is not actually sleeping. So that is one of the most and more consistent findings out there and surprises people every time. So if you're surprised, now you know. And then the other question that I get a lot is, uh, what if my job will not let me keep the same wake up time? I talked about the routines with shift workers, people that work shifts. Uh, First responders typically fall under this. And yeah, first responders, security, uh, yeah, doctors, right? So those are some of the people. And if someone works in a 24/7 call center, perhaps. So here's my answer. So work on the checkpoints that you can control. Light when you wake up, whatever time that is, movement in the middle, also have a landing before bed, because shift workers are playing a harder game. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But the four checkpoints still apply. It's just that sometimes I think shift workers sometimes feel like they have to figure out the same routine or like do the same thing that everyone else does. But it's to understand that for shift work specifically, there has to be a strategy for shift workers. So figuring out those four things that I talked about, how do you incorporate those? These apply to shift workers, but the question is just what time is it that you do those things? Because the times that you do it might be different from someone else. Because the activities that someone works a daytime job and someone else is working a night shift, they almost like inverse, right? Like the things that they do at particular times are different, which is unfortunate because if someone who works a night shift has to run errands and they can only run them in the afternoon, they can't really run them on like at night. It's kind of harder, and their day offs packed with errands, the things that they should have done. And yeah, it's different because the shift work is not something that a lot of people would say they were born to do, but they have to adapt themselves to it. And it's a big sacrifice. And we thank people that work shift work. It's a big, big sacrifice. And we thank you. Appreciate it. So, all right. Here is where I want to leave you tonight. The thing I want you to take out of today's episode is not a bedtime, it is a sentence. You are not asking too much of the night. You're asking too much of the night because you asked nothing of the day. 8 hours cannot undo 16. It never could. And the reason you feel broken is not that you're broken. It is that you've been trying to do all of your resting while unconscious. That was me as well. Emails at 10 at night to get ahead, personal life crammed in after that on the same screen. Waking up tired and starting the engine with coffee every day. And calling that a work ethic. I was not just out of shape. I was not weak. I had no line anywhere in my day, and my nights paid for it. The line is the fix. Not more sleep, a line. So here is what I want you to do tonight. And it is one thing. Pick one checkpoint. Do that one thing tonight. And then do it again tomorrow. If you have no idea which one, do this. Charge your phone across the room or a completely different room tonight, not in the drawer next to your bed, across a room or a different room where you have to actually stand up. And if you want help building this properly, I made something exactly for this person, like Emily. It's a 3-day reset, 3 days. It does not add anything to your calendar. And it does not ask you to wake up at 5 in the morning. It is free, and the link is in the description. If tonight you get in bed and your phone is across the room, come back tomorrow and tell me what happened. Because I read those. I pay attention to whatever comes in my inbox or the comments. I read them. Let me know. And remember, light, move, land, stop. Rest is not laziness. It never was. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see